Hey everyone. We're a little bit late tonight thanks to our technical difficulties. We figured out a workaround. So in our live stream tonight, we've got let me go clockwise here. We've got Tony Cook. Everyone knows Tony. Bill Schneider, our senior project manager. I don't know if we want to call you that or not, but
Senior, great, thanks.
I heard he's even more senior today.
Oh, stop it! It was last week.
And of course, Otto von Drack. We're kind of throwing this together. We're gonna have some fun and probably I'll probably end up with my foot or both feet in my mouth by the end of the live stream, but we'll see how
When
that goes.
when does Janet get here?
I could probably arrange that, but it would probably make things more cumbersome than they've ever been.
Oh, I was told Janet was coming, and that's the only reason I came in tonight. So
We'll
Right,
put,
all right,
here.
that's fine. No, we'll just keep going. It's fine.
we'll put her in the next video.
So I've been doing a lot of research about Double O, and I assume we're going to talk about a whole bunch of Rapido UK stuff tonight, right?
They have a lot of stuff to talk about, definitely. But
And
we're not going to talk about any of it, unfortunately.
No, maybe at the end. Well, Bill, you know a lot about that stuff, so maybe we can fit some of that on the end there. But yeah, so we've got some interesting stuff to talk about. We did send out our newsletter on Friday. We have several brand new or actually in stock product announcements that we made. So I guess we should probably get right into it. Where do we want to start here? Maybe let's start with the USRA boxcars, because that is a very cool new project. Well, it's actually a new release. I guess this is our second release of USRA's and HO.
Yep.
So maybe I will share that. And where's the share button? They changed this too.
Down bottom center, the little up
Oh, there we
arrow.
go. It's the big button that's green, of course.
Well, that says share right under it.
Yep, that's the one.
There we go.
So, Bill, do you want to talk about these for a moment?
Sure.
Just go through
Yeah.
as needed.
So this is the second run that we've done, as Jordan mentioned, on the USRA double sheath cars. And the thing that's different with this run of cars is that, unlike most of our stuff, which is pre-order and wait for it to come in several months down the road, these are actually in the warehouse ready to ship. These have been produced, so we're selling them available now. This is a car we did a couple years ago. We've done number of different detail variations on it. We've done AB brakes, K brakes, number of road specific details. The TH and B cars have different ladders on them, for example, being Canadian car has a little different setup. The fun part with these is we've got a few of the older paint schemes, if you will. The first run was primarily the later in the service life of these cars. This run, some of them go back a little bit earlier, a little bit pre-war, and some great paint schemes in here. We've got a mix of variety of paint schemes from US roads, two TH and B cars, which are reruns, but they sold out immediately on the first run. We've got a lot of requests for those.
That was one of the most popular cars on our first run, actually. Both TH and B.
Yeah. It's unusual to find yellow wooden boxcars. The fact
Yes.
that they had a group, why not? And of course, Jordan's Northwestern Pacific, and we had to do the Green Express one because it's so pretty. And yeah, but again, lots of different road names, and these are available. They're in stock now, so they're available to order now.
Yep, and you can order it through your dealer or from our website.
Correct.
I didn't realize that Toronto, Hamilton, and Buffalo went so far back with the yellow color all the way to the wooden boxcar era. That's really interesting.
Well, it's a bit the other way around, actually. I think their wooden boxcars just lasted a lot longer.
Oh, so those are later cars who got repainted. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. They actually the TH and B had a bunch of these cars, and they actually rebuilt a number of them and kept them in service a lot longer than a lot of other railroads did. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, as you can see all the different schemes we have. So of course, let me just go back to the top there. So TH and B yellow, that's the rerun. And the rest I think are all new. So we have Atlantic Coastline, Boston and Maine, Great Northern, Chicago Northwestern. We have two Northwestern Pacifics. So we got the very cool express car and the kind of the standard box car red.
And Great Northern, by the way, was a huge user of these cars, and they lasted also
Oh
quite
yeah,
a long time in service. So they were
absolutely.
some of the longest
So
lived cars.
Bill, quick question for people who can't see at home. These are wood sides and they have steel ends.
Correct. And fish belly center sills. Yep.
Neat. Yeah.
Jordan, I think there are actually some photos in the. Well, there you go. But I
Yeah,
think
there's
there's
the
also
one
some
there.
photos.
Let me stop sharing for 1 second. I will grab some photos out of the folder. Nat was
Yep.
kind enough to set that up for me tonight.
There's one from the previous run, but modified a bit.
My computer is thinking about it.
I'm not going to happen to be in front of me.
It looks like they have a mix of trucks. Some of the illustrations show kind of an arch bar. And
They,
then
they
the one
primarily have Andrews trucks, USRA Andrews side frames, which we tooled for this. Yeah.
nice.
And for the kids at home, we were just catching up. USRA stands for what?
United States Railroad Administration, I believe.
And this was a standard design that they developed and that a bunch of railroads adopted.
Correct. This is primarily after World War I when the railroads needed a bunch of equipment. They designed numerous freight cars, whole bunch of locomotives, the classic USRA locomotives, the Pacifics and Mikados and so forth. But this was one of their standard design.
Yeah. And there was actually a boxcar shortage following the war.
Yep. And this was an effort to economize so that they could build large numbers of boxcars with more or less standardized components, and they were signed and then bought by a number of different railroads. Yeah.
Neat.
And as you can see here, this is the TH&B car, both TH&B cars actually.
Yep.
We've got wire grab irons, full underbody detail. Are those metal stirrup steps on those?
The metal stirrup steps. That one does have Bettendorf, the cast steel side frame trucks, the later trucks. So Tony was absolutely right. And the TH&B cars, by the way, are the only ones that have that left-hand upright on the ladder, which was unique to them. Most of the others were just grab irons inserted into the side of the car, which you'll see in other photos, I assume.
So there's my personal favorite, of course, Northwestern Pacific. It's a really cool shaded green too. And we have you can kind of see the other version there, the kind of the standard, for lack of a better word, the standard scheme is the two cars together. Yep. Grand Trunk Western. And there's several of the cars all together. Some of them I haven't had a chance to photograph yet. There's a few that we actually had at Train Fest this weekend that we haven't photographed, but we will get those probably in the next few days.
Jordan, can you expand that? Can you make that photo a little bigger?
Sure.
There you go. Nice.
Scroll through them there.
That's a pretty lineup.
It is.
Lots of different colors.
And I think we have a nice shot of, well, there's the Great Northern car. Another shot of it. And then the underbody. This shows both brake styles, either the K or the AB brakes.
The K on the top and the AB on the bottom. Yeah.
Yep.
And as you say, these were not announced or put out for pre-order, so this is all new and available at the same time.
Yep. And this is actually the first of 3 projects that we announced on Friday that they're all in stock and they are ready to ship. So on that note, why don't we move to the next one? So that was the USRA boxcars. Again, I mentioned this before, you can buy them through rapidotrains.com or through your dealer. So the dealer should be getting those probably in the next week or two as the warehouse kind of gets those packed up and distributed. So next, just go back to my folder here. Let's have a look at the FPA 4s. This is another one that is in stock. Let's share this. And my computer being nice and slow as it thinks about it.
Jason's hold music.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this is another project that actually goes way back. That it's what, the 3rd run I think we've done of these now.
Yeah, it is. We kind of produced these kind of on the back of the FPA2U release earlier this year. And as you can see, we've got CN 1961 in the stripes. That is available in AB sets. And we also have the two blue nose logo units. So there's two units that were painted, I believe it was 85, 86. One was an FPA2U that was 65, what's that number again?
There you go.
6758 and FPA4 6775. They were both painted with these blue nose logos, I guess, as an experiment, kind of from around 86 to 88, 89.
Mhm.
And we've included those in this batch, and they are available now. And of course, I believe they all come with DCC sound. So yes, these are all DCC
Yep.
sound versions with ESU V5 decoders.
Jordan, I have a question.
Sure.
6758, I couldn't help but notice it has two different style number boards.
Yes, it does. So I guess by the time that they repainted it with that nose logo, it had a replacement board, so we have included that on the model.
Very
Interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
And when were the FPA4s retired from VIA?
So the very last ones were, I believe it was April 1989. That was when
Okay.
the new federal standards for the RC safety controls came into place. These were already planned for retirement, so that just kind of accelerated that. I think there were some rules, but they could trail, but they couldn't lead. But this was less than a year before the big cuts in January 1990. So they just
Right.
decided it was time to retire them. But many of them are still around, including 6758, which Otto, you probably remember from earlier this summer.
That's right.
Yep.
Just down the road on the New York and Lake Erie.
Exactly.
That's right. But now with matching number boards.
Yes.
And a new
This is the stuff that drives the factory nuts. What do you mean? You want them not to match? Yeah.
But yep, they are available right now, and get them while they last. I don't think they're probably. I know we didn't make very many, so they will
No.
probably go very quickly there.
This is a very small run, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is the FPA4s and the one FPA2U. And I think actually on that note, this will probably be the last run of FPA4s and FPB4s for a very long time. We've done, I think you said, Bill, was it 3 runs now?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yep.
It's been at least. And they go back quite a few years. That this is one of the first projects I worked on with Rapido.
So yeah, get them while they last. All right, so that's the FPA4s. What do we want to look at next? Let's do an N-scale project.
Yes, we do them too.
Yeah. So open this one up here. Oh, it's reading the file. Thank you, Adobe. So we actually teased this one a while back. I think this was when we announced the HO version of the car in the fall. But now we are ready to announce the N-scale version. So this is the N-scale Greenbrier 72-foot, 7780 cubic foot reefers. These are a car that they were first, I believe, built around the year 2000, and they're still building them now, including the Ontario Northland cars that just arrived on the system. I think it was in early this year, if I'm not mistaken. But this is, I believe, our first modern N-scale freight car. If I'm not, if I'm correct there.
Certainly the most modern N-scale freight car.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
But
Oh,
no one's done these Greenbriers before, and we've of course packed them with a ton of detail here. So they have full underbody details. You have all the cage and cage detail, fuel tanks, the air conditioning equipment or the refrigeration equipment, and they're just really, really neat. And they run all over the U.S. too, which is really cool.
Yeah,
I think. And don't you have the HO had them? So does the N have there's 2 different roof styles, or the UPs a little different or something to those?
So
and do these have the mix of what is it, Thermo King and Carrier refrigeration units can be different on these, or are these the same?
So we actually have 2 styles, I believe. So there's 2 body styles. There's the Crowdtrans body. I think we've simplified a little bit of the some of the finer details for N-scale. We do have both the Crowdtrans body and a UP specific body.
right.
And I'm not sure about the different refrigeration units. I'd have to check with Jeff. But we do have that detail on there, and of course we have a whole bunch of different road numbers, and you can order these individually as well. So we found this out with the HO cars that everyone was saying, I want this car or that car. So these are available. You can order specific or whichever specific car you want for your roster.
Well,
That's
the fun
name
thing with these cars too are the slogans or the names that they put on the side of them,
Mhm.
which is why everybody wanted the, stump for or all
Yes.
good or why not or yeah, whatever. So great stuff.
Looks like we've got a bit of a spelling mistake here. We forgot to put the A in Alberta, so that's
Good old Albert, yeah.
yeah, Jasper Albert. So
Jasper Albert. Went to
Bobby, if
school
you're
with
watching.
him.
Hang on, he's going to disconnect you. Be nice.
Oh yeah, I'm going to see some messages coming through in a second. But
and your model is the first Greenbrier. If anybody's, well, I've
Yep.
seen these cars. It's like there's all kinds of different. There's 64 foot, 72 foot, 80 some foot. And a lot of those are Trinity. This is a Greenbrier prototype. So kind of one of those, yeah, they're all the same till you start looking, and then they're all different.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I think both your HO and N is the first time the Greenbrier's been reproduced.
Exactly. And like our HO car, there's been a lot of people asking for Greenbrier equipment. And so we've got these, we've got the transverse coil car that we just announced in HO very recently. And the reception for all of these have been very, 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 very positive. So we're really excited to get all these modern freight cars going.
What I like about these reefers too is that you don't need a lot to be prototypical. Like a lot of warehouses will get one or two of these cars as much as you can run a train of 10 or 20 of them in a block.
Yep.
So I think, if there's people out there who's like, oh gosh, I need like a whole reefer block to be prototypical. It's like, no, you can, like your local warehouse will get one or two cars a week. And this is perfect for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see the cryo trains in UP trains in Kansas a lot, and it's just to be two or three of them in a row, and that's it. Yeah, in a mix with like center beams and center flows and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
I think Jason would like to say, yes, absolutely. Purchase a block of 10 or 20 at a time. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's right.
He's screaming through his phone right now, probably.
What are you
need all 6
doing?
road members of every scheme. Absolutely.
In fact, buy some numbers twice, one to keep in the box, one to run on your way out.
Right.
Exactly.
You can weather them for different time periods.
That's right.
Yes. So I believe these are pretty much ready to. I'm not sure if they've gone into tooling already, but if not, they should be going pretty soon once we get some final detail design issues kind of nailed down. So probably we'll have some samples of these probably in the new year sometime. So just wait and check back later for that. Of course, there's the
lot of stuff coming in the new year now.
Oh yes, we do. And I'll go over some of that stuff before we close off things too. Or actually, maybe I could go through it right now. So I believe as soon as Friday, I think I heard an update today. I'm not sure if it's the bi-levels or the C30s or both. One of the two is arriving on Friday, I believe, in the warehouse, and the other one is arriving next week. So the C30-7s are imminent arrival, along with the second batch of our HO scale bi-level commuter cars. So that's like Go Transit, Metrolink. What else was in that batch? Sounder, so out of Seattle. And I think there's just a few other ones as well. So that is almost here. And we'll probably have some photos of those next week. I haven't had a chance to photograph the samples yet. They went to Milwaukee. Unfortunately, our booth and our samples didn't make it to Milwaukee. So,
that's another whole live stream.
But yeah, we'll look forward for some photos of both of those projects by next week sometime. So going back to our new launches, I've got 2 more to go through here, and then we'll go into some order deadlines. So this is the where is it here? I'll get my share button. This is the 3rd of our new announcements that are in stock and ready to ship right now. So these are our CP National Steel Car 3294 mechanical reefers. These were a meat reefer, which was used all across Canada, and we've heard some of the cars did make it into the States. Not sure how far they made it, but we have heard a lot of like Alberta beef going into the US They were used in that service quite frequently. But these are a CP specific prototype. We've got 3 specific variations. So we've got the original 1968 in the script logo. We have the later version, so after about 1984, 85 in the script logo when they were patched with, well, they were re-stenciled, they got new cot stencils kind of for the later era. And we also have the early 80s multi-mark repaints, and they are all available in several different numbers. And this time, unlike the first release, which sold out almost immediately, this release, they are all equipped with sound from the factory. So you just take them out of the box, put them on your track, and they are ready to go. So if you're pretty much modeling CP anytime from the late 60s up until about 2002, 2003, you'll probably want to have a couple of these on your layout.
Jordan, I have a silly question.
Sure.
The sound equipped, is it obviously is it controlled through a decoder?
It's similar to our Santa Fe mechanical reefer, the R56. So
Okay.
it's operated with the wand. It'll operate either on DCC or DC analog layouts. And you
Oh,
just
so you
use
don't need DCC to make the sound work. That's great.
exactly. So you just use the magic wand, and I think there's a can't remember exactly what's inside the mechanics there, but you just wave it over the roof, just like a lot of our passenger cars, and it will activate the sound or turn it off, whichever you prefer.
There's a little magnetic sensor in there. When you pass the magnet over it either turns it on or turns it off, as he says. And yeah,
it
works.
That's great. Yeah.
And of course, these are just filled with detail again. So you've got separate ladders, separate grab irons, full underbody details. You've got the fuel tanks on the underside. You've got all the door hardware and whatnot, separate door rods. So these are a really cool car.
And the silver paint schemes just really jump out.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Really sharp.
Visually unique cars. Yeah.
And one thing to note about these cars, because they were built so late in the script era of CP, right? It's right before the multi-mark came in, like literally months before the multi-mark showed up. Most of them were retired in the script paint scheme. So you can use them right into the early 2000s with just if you go with the patched version with very few modifications. So again, in stock, ready to ship right now. Order through your dealer or through our website. All right. Almost there, and then we can get to some of the order deadlines. I actually should we'll go through that. We'll go through the last launch, and then maybe we'll look for some questions here. Once I get that open on my screen, because we're kind of having fun with our technical issues tonight.
I never have these technical problems when I'm a guest on a Tyco show.
Ooh.
Right, there we go. So, okay. So this is our new release of NSC ballast hoppers in HO. We just shipped our first run. I think it was spring or summer of this year. They were gone immediately. So we've decided to come back with a new release, new road numbers for most of our first release paint schemes. Most of them are returning for the new run. And we also have a new version, 2 new versions actually. We have Amtrak's Bold Lime scheme. This is the modern paint scheme that Amtrak's using, as well as the late Herzog version.
You want to tell Bobby about the lime too, or you want me to do it?
Oh yes, Bobby.
Oh.
Bobby, you spelled yes. If he didn't know, he knows now.
I guess Bobby's a little bold, lame, you could say.
Hang on. Yes. Sorry, Bobby.
So anyways, yeah, these are probably going to go into, I think we actually we've already set a deadline for these, haven't we? Yes, February 17th. So we have this February 17th deadline. You got a pretty short window to get your orders in. We'll go into production probably right away because these are all tooled, they're ready to go, and we'll have these out probably by the middle of next year. So again, these are all new road numbers for the first batch, or the first release paint schemes, and the 2 new schemes as well. And of course, we put tons of detail on these. It's all metal grab irons, full underbody detailing. You have the removable ballast load that actually comes with a little magnet inside. So it comes with the magic wand, so you can just lift the ballast load right out to make that straightforward.
And that seems silly, Jordan. I remember when I first saw that, I'm like, really? But I don't know how many times I fight with those or end up getting an X-Acto or something trying to pop those out. And it's like, this is really a cool idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos to the design person on that.
Exactly. I think we did that on our auto floods too.
Yes, I
The
think.
first run came with that. So we just kind of made it a standard thing across the board. And that's really neat. Oh, we also have, there's the other paint schemes there. I didn't show those earlier. We've got some patch out versions of the UP. There's the original scheme and the later 90s and newer version. And of course, the painted unlettered versions are returning. So those were actually very, very popular. So you can paint them for almost any railroad you like. If you got your own freelance railroad, they're great for that kind of thing. And they're available individually as well.
What have we coined on that? Road of Lies?
Yes, that's Jeremy's Railroad of Lies. Yes.
Railroad of Lies. I explained that in one. You have something that has that as its patch mark. Maybe that new coil car.
A couple of things now. So we have we've got the new run of B70 69 boxcars. Those are going to have a Railroad of Lies reporting marks, as well as I think we have, what was the other one we have?
I'm pretty sure that one. I think the coil car.
Was it the coil car? Yes, it was the coil car. Yeah.
The big Greenbrier coil car, because I actually explained what ROL, that it's not real, that's it, which is cool. That's a very neat thing to do.
Yeah, Harry and I had a fun conversation about what ROLX was.
I think that confused people. It's a bit of an inside joke, I think, but
yeah,
they've been surprisingly popular. We had to boost our numbers for those at the factory because they were we pretty much already sold them out, so we up those numbers. But we are also doing Railroad of Lies on our new run of GP20 tank cars. So that's actually 3 cars we have coming out with those.
Keeps creeping into projects.
Yeah, exactly. So that is all of our launches. That's a lot of stuff, actually.
It's a huge amount of stuff.
So not sure if I'm getting any questions in here, but that also might not be my Facebook page working. Let's see if I get. No, maybe not. So anyways, what do we want to talk about next? Want to go over the December deadlines maybe? So I think we've got the E8s, and what was the other one? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I just did a video about them.
The KCS Jeep 40.
That came and went. So that was the November.
Is that already crossed its deadline? Okay.
Those are actually going to be going into production pretty soon. But well, in the meantime, let me bring up the E8s.
Yeah.
Deadline folder. Oh yes, the other one is the Rio Grande caboose. So we'll look at the E8s first, and then we will look at the Rio Grande steel riveted caboose.
Very excited for that. I don't know how many I ended up pre-ordering on it, and my dad matched the same. Oh, I'll take that, and that too. So
nice.
we got about a half dozen of those coming a piece.
It's a neat car.
There we go.
Yes. I remember these.
Yeah. You might be familiar with them.
Vaguely, yes. So this is our second run of E8s and E9s. Several new road names, a few new detail variations, the number boards and so forth on the Rock Island cars or units. We're doing Santa Fe, which were rebuilt E1s that actually used E1 trucks. So we're doing the E1 truck side frames for those as well. Just something a little different. The first run, a lot of people remember the Amtrak, I think it was 4316 that we did the first Amtrak black unit, and the other one that from about the same time was the Seaboard Coastline patched units. So we had a lot of requests for those. We've included that in this run. Boston and Maine's entire fleet there. The one unit they got to run on the Canadian trains coming down. Just a classic scheme. Lackawanna, Louisville, and Nashville, Mopac. Lots of variety in regions and paint schemes. Penn Central in the standard, and then also with the red P. Rock Island, Great Railroad, couldn't paint more than 3 units alike, so that gives us plenty of stuff that we could play with.
That made figuring these out pretty interesting.
Yes. So yeah, we're doing the Independence, the bicentennial unit, which is just a dynamite looking unit. And then also the red and yellow scheme, which of course, once we made the initial announcement, somebody says, well, this one, and this one actually didn't have the details you have on yours. One of them was converted to HEP and one was great. So we have updated that. So this list is correct. Seaboard Coastline, SP, Jordan would let us get away without another SP in here, and Texas Pacific as well.
Exactly.
So
I think my favorite is the Seaboard Coastline Amtrak patch. That's a
a
great variation to see.
Yep,
yeah,
and those are kind of fun units to do, and the response has been great anytime we do a patch unit. So yeah, may not be entirely Amtrak's corporate image, but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And these are all same drive system as we had before. We've updated the grab irons and so forth a little bit on these. They're a little bit finer, but same lighting features, same sound system, and Loc Sound V5 decoders. They're just great running units.
And these also will have Mo power, I believe.
Yes, they will.
Yes, well, that's very good. So capacitors in all the new E units. I think our HEP E units, I believe, had that feature too.
I was going to say, I think they did. Yes, the IC and the BN. I remember shooting pictures and then testing them and taking them off the track, and the headlights and things stayed on. And and those were beautiful units. That for all the rebuilding and extra equipment on the roof line. Those IC executive units were XB and commuter units, but boy, I've got a big review coming up on those in Model Railroad News, and they are gorgeous units.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually found the IC units were I'm not much of an IC modeler, but that paint scheme on those executive units is just it's outstanding, and they're just such a cool locomotive.
Yeah. Oh, the response has been phenomenal on the HEP units. And it's been good on these as well. So,
what was interesting when we were at Train Fest in Milwaukee this weekend, they were like those and the gallery cars were like the talk of the show, and they were obviously because it's kind of like a hometown thing almost coming out of Chicago. There, local interest, and they pretty much sold out everywhere. So if you haven't actually gotten one, make sure you do that soon because they're going very fast. I think we're already sold out at Rapido, so you'll have to see your dealer for those. And I think
they came up very quickly.
Oh, yes.
Very surprised.
These will probably go just as quickly, I think. So
I'm sure. And again, some great paint schemes and across the areas right up, from delivery right up on into Amtrak. So it's a little bit of everything. Kind of fun.
So moving along from that's the E units. And what else do we have here? We've got the caboose. So let me open that pack there and we'll check those out quickly. All right, so there's our Rio Grande caboose. These photos are actually all pre-production samples. I believe Michael, our project manager on this, actually painted this himself. One thing to note before we get right into the details on these, there are a couple of tooling revisions that the factory is working on right now regarding the windows on a couple of the different versions. So and we do have several different window variations depending on the era of each paint scheme. So they're working on that now. These are early samples that we're showing on right at the moment in this pack, but we should have new samples we'll be showing possibly in the next week or two. I've heard they are on the way. So we'll show those off as soon as they arrive. But essentially,
there's so much variation through all these. When this was first announced, and I forget who was working on the project and asking for the prototype pictures, and I pulled like Joe Strapak's, like it's the third volume on the Rio Grande stuff. He does cabooses, and what literally I think they start right before World War II building Burnham there in Denver, did like 10 or 12 a year. So they're all a little bit and then of course modernization stuff would come along for them too. So it's a challenging collection of, you can't, it literally is not, we'll do one and you can number it anything. It's like, well, you could, but not really.
And
Mhm.
no two are alike, and even just the paint
Yeah.
variations.
And
There were so many of them.
That's what I just learned about these cabooses. Like I've seen pictures of them for years. And just when this project was coming out, I'm like, I actually didn't realize that Burnham Shops had built all these, that all of these were home built.
Mhm.
Exactly. And yeah, they were, so I guess they were, I believe it was 1940 through 51. The riveted cars were built, and later on they actually had a welded car, which came later in the 50s, which is a little different. I'm not sure if we're going to do those yet, but we'll definitely think about that. But as you can see, this is like, you can see all the different versions that we have here. You've got the early as-built cars with the early window styles. You had the kind of the sashes that were removed in the, I believe that was in the 50s. Someone can probably correct me on the date of that happening. But you can see how they changed and enlarged the windows on the cupola over time. Later on, they got the thermopane windows, which completely replaced the originals. Those fitted right into the original window frames, and they lasted a very long time. You can go right through all the schemes through the single stripe, the Action Road version from the 70s, 80s.
The no window scheme.
What's that? Sorry?
The no window scheme.
No window scheme. So yeah, these were plated late in their careers. I
Yep.
believe most of them were off the roster, or at least off of regular service by about 91, 92.
Jordan, can you
But
zoom in on that?
sure. Let me see if I can.
He says.
That's
Hey,
perfect.
There we go. It gives you a better look at the at all the detail differences here. So yeah, they plated the windows. I think I was saying the last one was around 2003. They had one that just barely made it through the merger. It was in a local service somewhere out west before it was retired. But again, you can see all the changes over time. They plated the windows. They put marker lights, these hanging marker lights on the ends, and those will come factory installed on that version. I believe we are putting the lighting in some of the earlier ones, like the Action Road with the windows, in case you want to figure out how to install that on your own. That will be an option as well. And of course, you've got different trucks. You've either got, I think it's a friction bearing, a plain bearing Bettendorf, or the roller bearing version. We've done both, and we've just packed them with detail as well. So you get the full underbody detail, you get etched metal, roof walks, separately applied ladders. So these are an essential model. If you're doing any kind of Rio Grande modeling from the 40s into the 90s, you'll want to have at least one of these versions, most likely.
And it's such a span of years, like the one with the sash, you could see that with Rio Grande steam locomotives.
Yep.
And then the patched one could be like UPSP Rio Grande patch Jeeps in local service. I mean, the scope of the years that these served is just incredible.
There was actually one of the fleet was repainted for SP's police service on the back of the kind of the high priority trains, and I believe it still exists somewhere. We haven't done that in the first release, but like I said, there's several paint schemes that we're holding for the next run in a couple years time. So look out for that down the road. One other cool feature that we're doing on these cars. So Rio Grande actually didn't paint the numbers directly on the body. It was like a raised metal plate.
Yeah.
So from the factory, because it's very difficult for the factory to do that kind of thing, they will come with the numbers painted on the body, but we are putting in numbers like an etched metal number series, so you can actually overlay that on top of the numbers if you want to do that. So that'll be a
cool
modeler installed option. But I'm sure if we asked the factory to do that, they would absolutely scream at us, and they probably would. So.
But
I didn't realize it was a
it's
separate number board. It doesn't really show up in the photos, or maybe it does. I just never realized it was a number
if
board.
you're at the right angle, yeah. And when you saw them in real life, because it always caught your attention, they look like house numbers.
That's funny.
Exactly.
Because I always figured that some guy at Burnham, his brother-in-law must have worked at like the Ace Hardware there in Denver, and was like, I can get you a deal on numbers, and so that they bought boxes of them or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. So yeah, that's all of the deadlines. And I mean, this is pretty much, like I said, we've got some tooling revisions new samples that should be coming in the next week or two. So we'll hopefully have those before the deadline. So get your orders, and these should be be out by middle of next year sometime.
Awesome. And I can't remember, maybe it's in the newest, I've got it right here, Model Railroad News. I've got a whole 2 or 3 page thing with prototype pictures that's either in this. There it is. Yes, it's in the current December that just came out.
Oh, very nice.
Has got the spread with a bunch of pictures on going through the whole from early to late. But boy, it'll be a wonderful model. Can't wait to see it.
Cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You
So
can never have too many cabooses.
yes,
No.
especially for a Rio Grande modeler. So one other thing I guess, Bill, we could talk about really quickly. We actually did put this in the newsletter, but it's being punted one more month. The FT project. We're waiting for some new samples to come in. So in the newsletter, we said it was going to be a December deadline. We are kicking that to January. I think it's January, February.
January at the moment.
Yep.
So yeah, we got the first round of samples in, which we've shown photos and so forth of. In general, we're very happy with the mechanism and most of the details. There's some of the items that we wanted fixed, in particular the screens and some of the latches and so forth on it. The factory got about a 12 or 14 page list of tweaks and adjustments that we felt needed to be made. So we're waiting for them to complete all of those and get us back a new set of samples on those. Once we get those samples, we'll show them off and do some videos, demonstrate things like the close coupling system that we've included and things like that, and set the deadline from there. So yeah, most likely January at this point, but anxiously awaiting those new samples.
So again, that has the old deadline on it, so just ignore that. But this is just a quick rundown of all of the FTs in our first release. And like I mentioned this all the time, yes, we don't have every paint scheme of FT ever in the first run, but just because that would be impossible. But just wait, we could probably get 2 or 3 or 4 runs without duplicating anything. So just stay tuned as we work our way through them.
So yeah, a few things that we're doing different on these two other FT models that have been out before. I think the biggest thing for somebody who needs FTs to replace all these wheezing camelbacks behind me, these were very close coupled when they were on straight track. But of course, that's a problem when you get into a model layout and get into a curve, then they would bind up. So we've actually adapted something that our British division uses quite often, which is what they call a close coupling system, which is a series of cams and levers that allows the units to spread out as they go into a curve and pull back together again on a straight, so that they will, as much as possible, have the correct distance between the units. The Santa Fe units, we have developed a unique coupler that goes on the back of those, because Santa Fe did actually break up their sets and run them as ABB, ABBBA. So we can do that with these. We have a lot of road specific details, Milwaukee and Northern Pacific and Great Northern, and several of the roads, unique number boards, unique body details, and so forth. Again, all stuff that's never been offered before, except in some very unique brass. And of course, when you show these, I cringe, because the screens were not at all what was on the original design, but the rest of the body isn't too bad.
Let's look at it like we'll look at it like this. So
yeah, just scroll up a bit. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, that actually shows the coupling system there for the Santa Fe, and also essentially the close coupling system on the units. So
and because a lot of people ask, is this the Santa Fe version here? Because I know some of them were drawbarred and some of them. Which ones had couplers? Was it Santa Fe that had the couplers?
Santa Fe primarily. Some of the other roads actually retrofitted couplers in. We have drawbars being made to come into the model as well. I suspect that, and we're still pinning this down, but I suspect they will come with the couplers to give you the maximum flexibility, and then it just pop 2 screws out, pop the drawbar in if you want to go with the drawbar equipped unit. But these are, again, first shot samples with hand bent wire grabs and so forth. So don't look too carefully at it.
Yeah,
demonstrating the close coupling a little bit. As you can see, it opens up a bit on the curve.
Cool. And I see the door handles are separate brass as well.
Yep. And one of the changes that's being made is all the little roof latches and so forth will be separate as well. That was one of the ones we looked at and said, geez, it looked great on the CAD, but when we got the plastic parts, it was like, yeah, it's not quite working. So, and the screens are going to be etched from a thinner material. They will be inset on the side. They're actually not supposed to stick out. They're supposed to be inset. The holes will be a little bit more open to give it a little airier appearance. So, lots of little details that we're adding in that I think the next round is really going to be quite impressive.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And this
is, from our point of view, this is always one of the dangers of showing first samples like this, is we look at it and say, okay, these are good for what they are, but they've got a lot of changes that we have to make. And you put a photo up and immediately somebody says, oh, look at these are a piece of junk. The screens are bad, this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, yeah, we know that. But for a first round sample, these were actually a lot farther along than we tend to see on a lot of projects. So that's why we're not hesitant to share these.
Yep. And like I said, we've got new samples inbound in the next, I guess, what 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that, I'm hoping.
Hopefully, yeah, they're still finishing up the my laundry list of changes, and they're throwing darts at my picture on the dartboard right now. But hopefully, we'll have something new here fairly soon.
Excellent.
It's such an important locomotive. I mean, when you think of all the F units that have been done in HO scale, going back, 70 years.
Yep.
And the FT with all these road specific features and everything, what you all are doing for it this time is never been done. And again, it's a diesel that did it, as
exactly
right
said. So why in the world aren't there about 15 of those in the HO market? And it's like, no, there's really not. Yeah. So I'm really eager to see it.
I'm just going to flip back to the pack again just to show you some of the schemes. So again,
all the different details and different number boards and so forth are, I think, going to make these really stand out as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you can get the B units for Santa Fe separately because they quite often ran them in extended consists. So you'd have like 3, 4, 5 B units in a train in some cases.
Bill, do you know what on the Santa Fe, those door vents? Is that because of the steam generator? What's their purpose? And is that exclusive?
Apparently that was exactly, yes. They were only on the passenger equipped units.
Yeah.
And they were on the A's and the B's. And so again, the doors are actually separate parts, and we have a separate door to go in for the Santa Fe units with those vents. But I assume it was for car body ventilation of some sort, but yeah, it was another one of these shop changes that the railroad made after they went into service.
Because
unique to the Santa Fe.
The war bonnets were not as delivered, right? There are no passenger FTs. Am I right on that?
So no, they were
in the war bonnet.
I'm going to get hate mail on this, but I believe that yes, some of them were, but they were steam generator equipped on the B unit only, as I understand.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah, Santa Fe was a huge user of those these units.
And of course, you can see some of the other schemes. So we've got the Boston and Maine AB sets, CB and Q, Milwaukee Road.
With its horribly ugly, unique number boards.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got the Lackawanna, GN. And then that one that I don't know anyone that models that, so we can just.
Is there even much interest in Ontario and Western? I can't imagine that anyone is modeling the Ontario and Western. Such an obscure.
There's just a couple of oddball guys who bury themselves in their basements, but that's about it.
Well, all those Camelbacks need to get they need to be retired soon. So
that's right. I'm looking for something reliable to run the place.
So, Bill, actually, I think that's actually a great story about the O&W FTs because we think about the major mainline trunk railroads dieselizing very early, your Great Northerns, your Burlingtons, your Santa Fe. And then here's a little old, New York, Ontario, and Western, less than 500 miles end to end. How did they afford how did they get FTs? How did they dieselize so early?
They actually got their FTs, and I think it was 45. And they immediately set them on a path to complete dieselization. By 48, they completely dieselized. They ended up being one of the first railroads that dieselized. And the FT was the railroad, the unit that proved to them that you could actually, they had 44 tonners in the past, but the FT was the one that said, yeah, you can use these diesels on the road freights, and they work great, and they can save us a lot of money.
And the O&W was no slouch. I mean, mountain grades and everything, right?
Oh yeah, it was. I think when EMD came and did the a survey to figure out what kind of power would work best for the O&W, they determined that there were sections of the main line that did basically a complete circle in like 3 miles. So it so many curves and so forth. So yeah, it was a very windy, hilly railroad, and the FTs just thrived on it. So, yeah.
All right. So, oh, I forgot there's another page.
There is another whole page. Yes, and
we got caught up on the
yes, and my Northern Pacific friends who have been very helpful on getting these done would be very upset if we didn't show this. And NP again, different number boards, different headlight arrangements, these cooling coils that are on the side of the fuel tanks and so forth, which don't show up quite as well in the illustrations, but again, something that was added to a lot of the FTs over the years. And again, first time it's been on a plastic model, so kind of fun.
I was going to say as well, whenever we do get the new samples, Bill, would you happen to know anybody that would have a layout that we could run these on, maybe for a video?
I'll make some calls, see what I can find out.
O&W, of course.
Oh, what else would we get?
That's going to be most of the run. So, but yeah, I think that's all our upcoming deadlines, or the December deadlines, one of the possible January deadlines, and all our launches too.
Yep.
I think because of our bugged post, I'm not sure, maybe it's just me, I'm not seeing a lot of comments, but
They're all in the if you go to Kingston sub and you go to the feed there.
Of course they are, because I'm looking at the wrong thing here.
Well, Jordan, let me help you out. Someone
Sure.
asked if there's
Yeah,
an update on the Turbo 2.0.
Yes, they are on the way. They left the factory last week, and I believe they're arriving. I've heard they're supposed to land in the warehouse around Christmas, so I expect to see those ship out first, second week of January, somewhere around there. And I'm going to pull up the comments because apparently I just haven't been seeing them. There we go. We got lots of comments.
Yeah.
Oh, someone just asked about the CRLV, if you have anything to share about that.
So there's not much yet. The design is pretty much ready to go. That's the CLRV streetcars. We haven't nailed down all of the road numbers yet. Obviously, TTC. There were a few that went to Boston for a demonstration back in the 80s. One of them is, and actually since they were retired by the TTC, they've moved around to different museums. IRM has one out in Illinois, and we'll definitely, I think Seashore has one now too. Not far from you, Bill. So we'll definitely be looking at those numbers. We'll probably launch with a tooling sample. I think that's what I've heard. So sometime, it's not going to be like in the short term, but probably in a few months down the road, we'll have that official announcement, and we'll of course make a big splash when that happens.
I think this is a great model too, because some people might argue that it's so hyper specific because it's they're built for Toronto, but I think they're iconic, and I think there's people who would pick them up even if they're not modeling, Toronto streetcars. They're still going to pick them up because they're just neat looking cars. And when were they introduced? I mean, they only came off the streets a few years ago.
Yeah, they were I think 77 is when the first batch came. So the first 5 were actually built in Europe, and then the rest were built by the UTDC here in Ontario. The rest of the fleet, and of course the ALRVs. And they lasted until 2019 when the final ones were withdrawn, which is actually pretty good. I mean, they lasted for over 40 years in a lot of cases. So they were pretty much they were just an iconic Toronto kind of staple. If you look at any photo of Toronto, kind of from the 70s until the late 2010s, it's almost always got a photo of a CLRV streetcar somewhere in the shot. So,
and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be picking them up and using them as a kind of a generic streetcar of lies. Is that
like a stand-in for modern car?
Exactly. Yeah.
So anybody that wants their own custom scheme, what is the minimum? 300 pieces, and we'll do one for you. So.
All right, so I have to find 300 friends that want to do a Rochester Transit car. Oh, got it.
There you go.
And somebody from Rapido, it's not me, but I'm guessing it's probably not Jason as well, says that the CLAV lasted longer than the turbos. So I'm guessing that's probably Bobby, and I'm guessing he's going to be working at the Price Chopper on Thursday.
And I'll take the sales pack first. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a question about the H6. Where is the how's that coming along? Is that I'm not sure if it's
I'm sorry, which one?
the H6.
Yes. The first major drawings are back from the factory. The design work is very far along, and we're just doing a design review on that now, and moving along pretty well. We should have some major updates on that probably another month and a half or so.
Excellent. H1644. How many years until we see them? No, it won't be years. They're getting ready for assembly right now, so they're in the paint shop. We had a couple of photos in the newsletter on Friday. We'll see those early in the new year. That project's been a long time coming, but Dan Darnell's gone really the extra distance with that. He pretty much redid the whole design, added a whole bunch of new detail that wasn't originally there. It took a lot of time. We actually went out to Alberta. We were very lucky to be able to access the very last H1644 that was from the CP before they cut it up. So we did a 3D scan. We got all the details off of it, inside, outside. We even got right into the radiators, photographed it, took all our dimensions, and we put a lot of extra detail into that model. They are not too far out, so probably we'll probably see those. I think they're hoping to ship them out of the factory by the end of January, so probably by the end of the winter, early spring, we'll see those arriving. Someone was asking about the gauge of the CLRV. Yes, that's Toronto's gauge, which is a little bit different from everybody else, and it will run on HO scale track. We had the same question with the BART cars.
The BART.
Are we going to be doing the custom broad gauge track? The trains themselves are 187th. They're HO scale, but we've compromised on the gauge of the wheels, because otherwise no one's going to be able to run.
Well, you're offering the upgrade where I can buy separate trucks for the 5-foot gauge, right?
As Jason likes to say, the first one is $100,000. Everyone after that is 1995. So if you don't mind putting that money down before it goes to so
you have to head lay all your own track first to make sure it runs on it, right?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. So,
you can start that now. And
someone's asking for Caltrain F40s. I'd love to do Caltrain F40s. We probably should do another run of commuter F40s before too long.
I think it's time.
Yeah. It's been what, 2-3 years now? I guess that was since the last one, and I remember they sold out almost immediately. We did CSX. That was the later.
Been a few years,
yeah.
Key Train was, I think, in that bunch, was really neat. Those went quick,
Right.
Jordan, earlier someone commented, and I just thought it was interesting. But they're like, you seem to be moving into the modern era. Are you moving away from steam and early diesel? And I think all the announcements you've shown us tonight kind of shows that Rapido's kind of in a wide range of modeling eras, road names, regions.
Yep.
I don't think you guys are focused on any one, and you're certainly not pulling away from any one era.
Well, that's the important thing. We're not moving away from anything. It's more spreading it out. So we're able to hit different markets, different regions, different demographics. There will be definitely more transition era rolling stock locomotives, passenger equipment. We've got lots coming, and lots that we've got planned for the future.
I feel like we're seeing a lot more transition era freight cars than we have in the past. And it's also nice to see that you guys are doing the stuff between the wars as well, because
Mhm.
I kind of feel that the 20s and 30s kind of get lumped into like, well, either you're getting a wooden box car or nothing. And, you know, it's nice that you guys are having a variety of stuff there, because I think that period between the wars is neglected so much, not because people don't want to model it, but because there's not really a lot of stuff readily available.
Right. Yeah, for a long time, unless you were building resin kits or something like that, there was not much available. It has been kind of fun to do cars like the GLA and the H21 and the USRA cars and so forth that get back into that era. We've done some earlier paint schemes on them. I'll be honest that the 1920s is not the best selling of the eras, but at least we can support it with some models. And yes, a bunch of neat stuff. You look at what we've been talking about tonight. We've gone from USRA box cars to Cybertrans reefers to H16 locomotives and FTs to C30-7s. We are all over the map in terms of eras and locales and so forth, and it seems to be working for us.
And of course, that applies to new Canadian models, new US models. We've even got a few Mexican prototypes we've got now between we got the C30s,
Yep.
and we're looking at doing some other possible Mexican products in the future. I don't believe we did any Mexican H16s in the first run.
No, not
So
yet.
definitely
We ran an article in the October issue of Railfan and Railroad. It's our annual Alco issue, and Gordon Lloyd Jr. put together a great photo album of Mexican Alcos, and it's just really interesting because I think if you don't know about Mexican railways, you just think, you know, National to Mexico is the only game in town, but you had so many other colorful,
Yep.
you know, short lines, trunk lines, and really the Mexican rail scene, you know, a very colorful thing to model, and you know, I'd welcome seeing more of that, not only from the manufacturers, but also in the magazines. If any of you folks are modeling Mexican railways, we want to hear about it.
Mhm.
And Tony wants to feature it in his magazine too, because quite frankly, if we don't see it, we don't know about it.
Yep.
Well, actually, one cool thing of going back to the H1644, someone that we've worked with quite a bit, and this is actually something that a lot of people have been asking us, is where are we getting the sound for the H16, because they just don't exist, they don't run. So someone that we've been working with for a lot of our videos and such happened to have gone down to Mexico in the 80s and did a fan trip with run bys and startups and everything of the
Wow.
H1644, and we were able to get those audios with his permission. And we are using that, I believe, to build our sound file for the H16. So that's really cool.
Well, you know, if you guys ever need more Fairbanks Morse noises, our museum here in Rochester, the Rochester Genesee Valley Road Museum, perhaps you've heard of it. We have an H12. Yeah, we have an H1244.
Oh yeah.
And one of the few operating FMs in the East. And for if you've never heard an operating FM diesel, the opposed piston design, it's such a unique sound. And you know, close your eyes and you think you're on a submarine, because that's kind of what it's like.
And that's
But,
where those FMs were from. I mean, that like from the war.
Essentially, FM developed their diesel engines during World War II in the submarines, and then they did the locomotive applications. And you know, they're solid runners. They will pull the chrome off a bumper. They are amazing pullers. They're just kind of like maintenance headaches, you know, when you're a small railroad and you already had to make a decision between, say, EMD and Alco. Now FM comes along with a, you know, third round of training and parts supplies and everything else. It's, you know, it's easy to see why they didn't quite win the race.
Yep, exactly.
I noticed in the comments too, a lot of people are asking about various transit and commuter, and I have to say that that warms my heart. You know, I grew up riding trains in New York City and Metro North and the city subway and everything else, and you know, I never thought that we'd see mass-produced models for anything commuter other than, you know, some Fubi coaches here and there. And I dare say that we're being spoiled by the amount of different commuter stuff that we're seeing everywhere. And just, you know, do you guys have a focus? Like, are you guys I guess where's it come from for you guys? You know, how do you decide like we're gonna model this or we're gonna license that? Where's it come from for you guys?
The
Well,
response on the BART train and on the Toronto subway have been huge.
mhm.
And I think have kind of opened our eyes a bit to the transit world in general, be it, you know, smaller or mainline. Just keep an
I
eye
know
out.
a
Yeah,
lot of people were. I mean, I'm going to say it, a lot of people were naysaying the Toronto subway project,
that's been
and
very successful.
well,
Yeah.
I knew in my heart that that was going to be successful because you don't even have to be a modeler to want that model.
Mm-hmm.
If you rode that train, you want it on your mantle. You know, it's if nothing else, as a mantle display, right? Um,
If you want to
is
Let's
it?
look
just
like,
say watch these pages for a while.
oh yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, if you
Don't-
want a kind of an idea of where this all started, I mean, we did the bus, the new look buses. It was all almost 9 years ago now. We did the first release, and it wasn't really meant to be anything more than the fishbowl buses. I wrote on them, Jason wrote on them, Dan Darnell, most of the people.
Jason needed them for his layout.
Jason needed for his layout. We're like, this would be a cool project to do, and it morphed into people coming to us and saying, "Hey, this is a fantastic model. What about this? What about that?" Like in
Hmm.
terms of the BART trains,
Yep.
someone from BART approached us and said, "You have great bus models. Your transit products are incredible. Have you ever thought about doing BART?" And we hadn't really. And that project turned out to be a huge success. And in fact, it's arriving in about 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. They're going to be actually here. So that's just kind of morphed into more transit projects, the TTC subway, the CLRV, and maybe some new stuff, like Bill said, that you'll want to stay tuned for.
And the thing that has amazed me with the BART product or project too is how you think, yeah, that's going to be popular on the West Coast area or whatever. I did a meet and greet on Long Island not too long ago, and they were saying, "I can't believe how many of those BART trains we're selling." It's like, really?
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, there is definitely a wider following, I think, for a lot of this transit modeling than perhaps we had been aware of, but we're certainly it's opened our eyes quite a bit to future possibilities.
Yeah.
Without going too deep a rabbit hole, is the biggest challenge the engineering, the tooling, the licensing, finding like what's because I know a lot of these transit authorities are very you have to deal with a public entity and they're very protective of their image and sometimes you just it's a roadblock. I mean, what's the biggest challenge for transit making models?
Well, I'll say one thing. In terms of licensing, like I'll just speak about BART in particular. I mean, like I mentioned, they came
Right.
to us. They
Yeah.
they they came to us and said, "We would you be interested in doing this?" And I mean, other agencies. I mean, it varies. Generally, they're very accommodating to whatever we need. Some not so much, but depends on the situation.
For the most part, we've got a good relationship with most of the transit agencies. Engineering for some of these has been a real challenge, like the Toronto subway car. Dan developed an underfloor power truck for this thing because there was no way of putting a drive system in it, still having the interior that we wanted.
Oh wow.
And that now, of course, I think all of us on the project team are looking at it and saying, "God, you know that truck is kind of cute. I could use that."
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, it's like the CLRV. How are you going to power this? Well, we've got a underfloor power unit now that we know works and it works reliably. And yeah, I think all sorts of potential down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Someone, I'm guessing this is Bobby again, is asking, he's asking about if we'll be doing a Jubilee. I'm not sure why he's asking about that, but
We're working on the H6, very
yes, let's get the H6 done first.
one at a time, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd probably be a long way off. Was that part of the original icons, I think, list that was
May have been. Yeah. As the resident steam designer at the moment, I don't have that much hair left, so I really
Bill, are you happy with how the steam projects are coming along? They look great from all the samples that we've seen over here.
Mhm.
Thanks. And yes, the response has been great. We've been very happy with the way the last round of Hudsons just were amazing, and then have sold through very well. The D10s did very well. The Royal Hudsons did well. All sorts of ideas for future stuff, but they're very time consuming to design and produce, and it just takes more time than some of the other projects.
Yeah. And yes, we do need the G5 Pacifics at some point. Someone's asking about that. 1201 eventually, but again, that's going to be one day.
Well, and the fun part is now we've got our youngest designer, Michael, who is a diehard steam fan. So so much for this, you model what you know, so yeah, he's anxious to get going on some steam stuff. So hopefully I'll have some help here soon.
Exactly. All right. So, I mean, we've been going almost an hour and a half now. Maybe we'll take one or two more questions and then we'll call it a night.
Let Jason have his website back.
Yes. Someone's asking about the SD10s. Actually, in case, let me see if I can find this here because we put this on our Facebook page. On the weekend, because we got the first test samples and it's a wonderful color.
That glorious
they were
green.
very creative on painting these.
So my camera, this is with my iPhone. It makes them look seafoam green. They were actually a bit of a blue tinge. But this is the first images of our Yeah, exactly. These are
do not adjust your screen.
No, do not.
I think someone's an Oneida and Western fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The other O&W, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're O&W.
But actually, we had a lot of people saying, you know what, this is actually brilliant. It actually it makes all the details pop, so you can see everything. And I'm like, this is probably a good idea. So the next round of samples, we should do like lavender maybe, and then another would be
they'll never
harvest gold.
Yes. Wait, I think another company tried to make all the trains in girls' colors. Didn't quite work out.
Oh yes, those Lionel with their the girls set back in
with their fashion correct colors.
But
these are delightful. So what's with the yoke over the roof?
So that's the SD10. Milwaukee Road rebuilt these in the 70s, and they chopped. I mean, they chopped the nose. They did new custom number boards that kind of grew out of the cab roof. You can kind of see the angle there. I'm not sure if I can. Oh, I can.
What is it with Milwaukee and their number boards? I'll tell you.
Yeah,
they're very interesting like that. There are some parts missing, by the way. The beacon is missing, but you can see you've got the quad exhaust stacks, winterization hatch. This is all etched. All of the radiator or the grill work is all etched over top of the radiator itself. You can't really see the trucks too well, but you can see there's different fuel tank options. And also on that note, because a lot of people have been asking about this, so this is Milwaukee Road SD10. We're also doing the Sioux Line patch units and DM&E. And originally those were conditional. We haven't even hit the deadline yet, and the numbers are excellent. So they're not anything that was conditional in this release is approved. So everything is going through. But as you can see, that's the Milwaukee Road SD10. Right in the center here, you can see the Chicago Northwestern chop nose with all the correct details, snow plows, roof-mounted beacons. Look at that big winterization hat, or not winterization hat, the all-weather cab window. We have 2 or 3 or 4 different styles of winterization hatch. Right here, actually, the second one. This is the CB&Q Colorado and Southern SD9. This is the Phase 4 unit. So it has the higher nose, the big exhaust stacks, the bigger 48-inch fans. No one's ever done those before in plastic, so that's the first time.
One of these days, it would be great if we could pick a model of just a locomotive that only had one version.
You could do about the same era as this.
We'll do an SD9. How many possible variations could there be?
Exactly.
Why don't-
Exactly.
Why don't you do the RS 1325? There were the
Just
two
gonna say
that's
for
true.
CNIM.
You've
and
got
it
one
was-
one
And they're
style.
probably both different. Yeah.
No. I think 30 and
Oh.
31 were, yeah, they were twins and they're about the same
Ah.
age as this. It would be
Mhm.
great. Yeah.
Yep.
Or
yep.
another one shot deal, the EMC Model 40.
Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, that's just a quick look at those. We are going to we do have some. Well, Jeff is working on some tooling revisions. There are things that need to get adjusted on these. Of course, we've only had these samples for like a week, so there are a lot of things that need to get adjusted on them. But we'll be announcing a final deadline early in the new year, probably maybe once we get a second round of updated samples. We'll get some nice videos out. We'll show them off, and we'll get those into production. We are expecting these will ship before the end of next year, so we're looking at maybe summer, fall. Summer might be a little optimistic, but by the fall of next year, that's the hope for these. A lot of
I
work
think
has gone
these-
into these.
Absolutely. I think these samples showed up just in time to get shipped off to Train Fest and shown
Yes.
off there. But yeah.
It was actually perfect. It was a bit of a win because they sent the samples directly to Jeff, who lives in Chicago. So
At least you had something to show.
exactly.
Oh,
So
don't
we
go there.
I still haven't slept since the weekend. But that aside, the show was wonderful. So that was actually a lot of fun. But yeah, that's the SD10s, SD7s, SD9s, and yes, there will be many more runs. So if you're looking for other ones like the SD9Es that I need for SP, yeah, we'll get there. Just give us some time. Maybe we'll do one more question, then we'll call it a night here. What have we got? Oh, there's a good one. Someone's asking for an SF30C. So very interestingly, I think I mentioned this in a previous live stream. We were doing it was on the bus tour without the bus. We were in Berlin, New Mexico, and we were at the event, and I had to park the car. Craig and everyone was inside the building doing the event. And I'd go and park the car, and it's right beside the diesel racks at BNSF's yard there. And I look over, and it's the one SF30C on its way to Arizona. I'm like, I was so excited. I stepped out of the car and promptly sank in about 6 inches of mud. So, but I didn't care because there was an SF30C sitting there. So, I would love to do those one day. So they're on our list. So that being said, we've been going for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, I want to say congratulations to Rapido on their 20th anniversary.
Oh yes, thank you.
I know you guys just had a big shindig this month.
Yep. We had the big event in the Halton County Radial Railway, which was lots of fun. We got the G cars, the Gloucester's running for the first time in 20 years.
Neat.
Sorry, Bobby.
Fun
Bobby
fact, a lot of people don't know that when Rapido started, Jordan wasn't even born yet.
I was already in my 20s, but I remember Jason I was working at George's Trains back at the time, and he used to come in the store and he'd be so excited about all the plans he had. And we had a video up on that was playing cassettes, so like old tapes of Via action in the 80s, and there was a cafe bar lounge. He was so excited there was a cafe bar lounge. He was so that was like him just running around the store talking about that. So 2002 or something.
Nice.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. This has been fun. As I've been slowly recovering from the weekend. So
yes, you've had a fun weekend, and then all the technical glitches.
yeah,
okay.
Between the booth and for the show itself, we flew out from Toronto Island to Chicago. We flew in circles for an hour over Chicago, and then they sent us back to Canada. And then even though we never set foot in the US, we had to go through customs. So
well, you could have picked up something in the air while you were over Chicago and brought it back.
I was talking to Jeff, and he says, "Well, I'm watching them on Flight Tracker. They've gone around 4 times so far." I said, "Well, this is not good."
It took us 16 hours to get from Toronto to the hotel in Milwaukee. So that was and that was before the show started. So,
Oh no.
but it was actually a great weekend, and we're looking forward to coming back hopefully next year. So
Yeah, I'm sorry we had to miss it this year, but we're definitely gonna be at Train Fest next year. So looking forward to coming back in
oh yeah,
2025.
yep, exactly. All right, so I think this has been fun. Any last words for anyone?
Remember, for all the magazine and book stuff, shop.whiteriverproductions.com, and you can find all the magazines and books, and there's a new 2025 calendar, and there's like coloring books for kids and everything. So check it out.
That reminds me, I still need to order my copy of Amtrak by the Numbers #2. I still need to get that, so I won't.
That's right, all new and expanded.
Yes,
You don't want to miss Amtrak by the Numbers too.
Mhm.
Available at shop.whiteriverproductions.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All
Tony,
right.
how many hats are you wearing these days? You're editor of a bunch of things.
Down to just Model Railroad News, Diesel Era, HO Collector Annual. I do Collector Consist for you 4 times a year. I'm semi-retired now.
Well, and the yeah, you're definitely winding down. I can see. Didn't you just pick up the circus modeling magazine too for that group?
Circus Model Builders, Little Circus Wagon, and the NRHS Bulletin for National Railway Historical Society that I do the layout for those for Through White River.
It's good that you're
What
winding
do you do in
down.
your free time?
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
Not a lot. I've been looking for something to do, you know.
You take up a hobby.
This
There's
is
an
fun, Jordan.
idea.
Thanks for having us, and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
glad to be here. And once again, congratulations to Rapido on their 20th, and we thank everyone at Rapido and Jason for supporting White River Productions all these years, and look forward to
Absolutely.
seeing you guys at Springfield. Who's coming to Springfield in January?
I think
I think
most
we'll
of us
all
are.
be there.
Great.
Bill will be there. I'll be there. I think Darnell, I believe Jeff and Michael they're going out. I'm sure
It tends to be an almost all hands on deck
Yeah.
event. I mean, it's an amazing
I-
show.
I didn't make it out to last year's Springfield, and I heard that we needed a couple extra people in the booth. based on feedback.
It was very difficult to get what we might call a necessity break from time to time. So, yeah, an extra person or two would be helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
All right then, and I guess happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Ours is well
Absolutely.
past, but hope you guys all have a great long weekend.
Yeah, thanks. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there.
All right. All right, everyone. We'll see you in another live stream probably soon. Hopefully one that has less technical problems. So all right. Take care, everyone.
Good
Bye
night,
now.
everyone.
Night.
Lunatics!